Welcome to the last workshop of the Spring 2021 Career Peer Workshop Series. Today's topic is going to be all about virtual interview essentials. This presentation is facilitated and created by yours truly, Lara Napasa. I am a Career Peer Ambassador, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. Right. Not that yet. All right, so before we go ahead and start, I wanted to go over some agenda for today's presentation. We will start off with a quick introduction about me. Then we will go over some learning outcomes for this workshop. Then we will dive into the definition of a virtual interview and how it's relevant in our current situation. I will also quickly go over a comparison of an in-person and a virtual interview. And the biggest focus of this presentation would be on how to prepare for an interview. What do you need? What are the steps in order to succeed and ace it? After that, we will have our opportunity drawing where one of you could win a $20 Amazon gift card. So stay tuned for that. We will have a Q&A section at the end as well if you have any questions. But if any questions do pop up throughout the course of this presentation, feel free to type it in the chat and I'll address it as soon as I can. There will also be activities throughout of this workshop that you can participate, and it will give you an extra entry for our opportunity drawing at the end. All right, now moving on. My name is Lara Napasa. I currently work as a career peer ambassador at San Diego Mesa College. I graduated from Mesa's class of 2020 with an Associate of Arts degree in pre-nursing for transfer. I worked as peer navigator as well in my second year at Mesa College, and now I am a transfer nursing student at San Diego State University. All right, so some learning outcomes that I hope you will be obtaining from this presentation is that you will recognize a minimum of 3 virtual interviewing strategies. You'll be able to recall the 5 steps in the STAR interviewing method. And last but not least is that you'll be able to identify a minimum of 2 relevant career resources. Now let's just dive in. What is a virtual interview? A virtual interview, or most commonly known as a video interview, is a type of interview that utilizes video technology to allow an applicant and recruiter to meet remotely. So rather than meeting face-to-face, the hiring manager and candidate will connect with each other online using a video software. And so why is a virtual interview important during this time and age? With the global pandemic happening right now, we're all encouraged to stay home and follow necessary precautions when we do need to go out. And this decreases the spread of COVID-19 and helps us and our families stay safe and healthy. And so with that being said, virtual interviews have become more common. And maybe for the majority of you, virtual interviewing is a new concept and something that you've never even done before. So working remotely is our new normal. And for us to adjust and adapt to these changes, we will be talking about how to incorporate virtual interviewing strategies for your upcoming virtual interview. Now, I want to go over some significant differences between an in-person and a virtual interview, starting off with that firm handshake. With an in-person interview, it communicates your confidence and enthusiasm. That is definitely not possible with a virtual interview. Another benefit that I saw was definitely your presence of body language. Being in person, live in a room with your interviewer, they'll be able to see your hand gestures and other body language to communicate non-verbally. Now, there's also a possibility to tour the company and facility that you are interviewing from, and you'll be able to see the vibe or the aura of the workplace and see if it fits your personality or if you like kind of the vibe of the place. Some challenges that I thought is that handling the pressure of an in-person interview is definitely on top of there. Being again in person in front of maybe a panel of interviewers even is kind of a little nervous feeling and a little pressure on on you as an interviewee. Another challenge is scheduling the interview, just because I know that some people may have other priorities or other responsibilities. Maybe you are someone who's currently in a job and you are, while you're job searching. So you'll need to schedule the interview, make sure that you take note of the travel time, how long, when you're available. So those may be a hassle if you are going to be interviewed in person. Now, for a virtual interview, benefits I have listed is flexibility of time and it's convenient. So, in the comfort of your own home, you'll be able to interview, and you'll not be able to think and worry about traveling or driving a long distance just to go to that company or facility that you're going to be interviewed from. And you also may feel less intimidating because there is a screen, there's that physical barrier between you and the interviewer. You also have the control of your interview setting. So you, again, can conduct an interview in your own home or at a park near your place or at a quiet coffee shop by any chance that you'll be able to interview there. So it kind of gives you more of that control of the situation. Now, challenges that virtual interviews do pose are maintaining eye contact. So since we've been doing Zoom meetings for a significant time now, since the pandemic started, we tend to always just look at the screen to look at the person we're talking to. However, in a virtual interview, you want to focus on looking at the camera. So, on the perspective of the person interviewing us, they see that we are looking at them directly. Some technical issues also might happen in a virtual interview, and these are maybe an unreliable internet connection, or your device is malfunctioning a day or maybe 3 days before. And these are some challenges of a virtual interview. Now, before we go on and how to be prepared for your upcoming interview, I wanted to take a poll on what type of interview are you preparing for. So I'm going to launch this poll, and let's see if you all can see it. We have a quick question.
Yes, one quick question on the chat. Do you
Yeah,
have any tips on how to show confidence through a virtual interview?
yes, definitely. We will be going over more in depth for this one, but in our next slide, we'll go in depth in that. So just hang on tight, Ken. Thank you for your question. All right, so I see you are all responding to the poll. Maybe a couple more seconds. Majority of you are preparing for a job interview, some internship, some others. All right. Awesome. Now I'm gonna end the poll. Thank you all for sharing your I'm gonna share the results. All right, so as you can see, you're able to see the results of our poll. Majority of us here in our presentation is preparing for a job interview, some internships, and there are a couple of others too. Thank you for sharing. And now going back to our presentation. Going back to our presentation, the following slides are going to be steps with strategies incorporated that will definitely help you prepare, ace, and show confidence in that interview. Now let's proceed. All right, so after that confirmation call that you have an interview, the first thing you want to do is research. And now you want to familiarize yourself with the company, their mission, and their values. You can do this by exploring the company website, looking over their social media, and even attending upcoming events that are available for you to attend if there are any. Through doing your research and doing your homework on the company, you'll be able to list how your skills and values align with the company's goals. You can put them side by side in a document or write them down even in list format, and you'll be able to see how your qualifications really suit this position you're applying for. Now, I would like to emphasize that using the job description for that job posting to prepare for an interview is definitely going to help you reflect and mirror your answers to what exactly they're looking for in a candidate. Now, I want to share a resource called Onett Online, and this is basically an free online career encyclopedia where you'll know more about the general job descriptions and tasks of the position you're applying for. I know many of you may not be familiar, but we'll go over the actual homepage and the website in just a moment. This will help you. Oh, I have a question. At some point, I'd love to hear if you know any ways to get in touch with employers for an informational interview. Yes, we can definitely go touch upon on that, Malik, in a couple of slides from now. I'll take note of that. Awesome. Now, going back to Onett, our resource, you'll be able to reflect your answers to job posting by knowing more about the actual position you're applying for. So as we move on with Onett, again, I've mentioned the definition. It's a free online career encyclopedia. It is used by students, by job seekers, by professionals out there in the world of work. And now this is the homepage and how it looks like. And I wanted to quickly show you how to navigate this resource. Now, this is the homepage as you've seen in the PowerPoint. And the search bar, I'd like to ask for someone to share what type of occupation or job position you'd like to search up. It may be a position that you're applying for, or it can be your current job. So is anyone wanting to share what type of position we could look up and search? You can type it in the chat or research assistant. Okay, you can try that. Research assistant. Let's see. Oh, I spelled that wrong. Social science research assistant. That is probably the closest match that we'll be getting. Childcare. We can also go over childcare after we go over research assistants. But as you can see, after you've searched that position in the search bar on your top right corner, it's going to give you a list of positions or jobs that closely match the position you searched for, or the exact position if there is an available on their database. Now, as we go for a research assistant, this is the page that it will direct you to. So it's a summary report for the social science research assistant position, right? It shows you more information about general jobs and tasks that is expected for the position you looked up for. So as you can see, there's 23 displayed. These are all very general and broad statements that you can more personalize and tailor when you are responding to an interview questions. And also not only that, but you have skills and technology skills or just general skills that you'll be able to more explore and know more about this position that you might possibly acquire from your experience, right? Now we can go over childcare. Let's see if where is all right, so childcare workers, as you can see, it's exactly what we searched for, and you can just click on that, and it's the same format of how it's going to look like, but you can see there's 25 tasks that you can read over. These probably are accurate to the relevant job experiences or professional experiences you've had that you can share on later in your interview response. Thank you for participating. I'll make sure to tally down your answers. Any type of participation, like I've mentioned, will be gaining a extra entry. So thank you. Thank you, Wendy and Ken. All right, now let's go back. Going back to our slides. All right, now you've done your research and you know more about the company. It's time to learn how to tailor your qualifications and skills through storytelling, right? You have to let your personality shine, going outside of the box, going beyond of what's in your resume when you are responding to an interview questions. You want to show authenticity and confidence and passion and motivation to that position. And all of these are all possible if you know how to story tell your professional and personal experiences. And now we'll go over a method in just a moment. But I want to emphasize that leaving a memorable mental image is really important. And this is again through sharing your professional and relevant job experiences, not necessarily job, even an interview or any relevant event in your past. Now, in response to behavioral based interview questions, this is a type of interview questions. I want to go in depth into the STAR method. In just a moment, in the next slide, we will go in depth to that. But I want to just remind everyone to be honest and specific with your answers. You just can't fake it till you make it. In an interview, in a job interview, internship interview, any type of interview, you want to be really honest and authentic. And this will show that you are confident, definitely. So hopefully I'm answering some of the questions that were asked earlier on. Now, this is an infographic that basically it's simple, straight to the point, and let's just dive into it. What is the STAR method? It's a structured way of responding to a behavioral based interview questions by discussing your situation, task, action, and results of your professional experience. Now, these steps will show you how you'll be able to tell your story effectively by being direct, logical, meaningful, and personalized with your answers. You basically formulate a systematic right workflow of answering your interview questions. And now the formula that to start off your answer is to prepare after you that the interviewee tells the question, you listen to it, you don't just hear it, you listen to the question, you think of an event, and it's okay to pause, plan and organize your thoughts for 5 to 8 seconds. And so your storytelling will be more effective and efficient, and your sentences and ideas will flow more cohesively. Now you start off with the situation, right? You begin your answer by giving enough context and background to the interviewer of the situation. You follow it by relaying the tasks. Now you talk about the problem you've encountered, going in detail of the challenge that you have to face. You had to face in that particular example that you're giving. Now, you follow this up by the action, where you explain what you did and how you surpassed the challenge you were talking about. And last, to wrap it all up, cherry on top, this is the part that most people tend to forget. You want to share your results, your outcome for this specific situation. Just because you've already stated what you did to overcome the problem doesn't mean that you don't incorporate and highlight your achievement. So you want to wrap it all up with the results. Now, as we move forward in the next couple of slides, I am going to share an example of my response using the STAR method to a behavioral based interview question that I actually got from an actual interview in the past. Now, after explaining and going in depth about my answer, we will have a quick activity. So just a heads up that we will have kind of a hotspot activity where I would love to hear from our participants how they're able to utilize the STAR method in response to a behavioral interview question, right? All right, so going back to our example question, what my question that I got was that describe a time when you communicated effectively in a difficult situation. Now, I started it off with I previously worked as a peer navigator during my second year at San Diego Mesa College. In my role, I was responsible for mentoring and providing guidance to first year students through one-on-one in-person meetings on a monthly basis. So as you can see, I described the situation that I was in and clearly stated what my role was as a peer navigator. It was also very specific, so we want to give enough detail, but not too much that you're going overboard, right? The goal of this kind of section of the STAR method is to give a better understanding and a better visual to the interviewer of what situation you are talking about. And it can be from a previous job, from a volunteer experience, or any other relevant event in your past. Now, the task. I followed my answer with during my first few months of meeting with some of my mentees, I had trouble breaking the ice as they were reserved, shy, and not comfortable with opening up about their personal life. Connecting with my mentees became one of the biggest challenges since I am an introverted person. To be a good mentor in my first job, I needed to step outside of my comfort zone to build meaningful relationships. And then this section, the main focus is to talk about the responsibility that you had to fulfill. And this is where you showcase the challenges, issues, or any conflict that you experienced. Now, after that, you follow it up with your action, right? I stated in my answer, I started to incorporate different communicative strategies, such as beginning the mentoring conversations by asking my mentees open ended questions rather than those answerable by yes or no statements. I also practiced active listening, validating feelings, and giving affirmations to empathize with their experiences in difficult situations. In addition, I offered to help my mentees with organizing their class schedules, directing them to helpful resources, and sharing campus events. And so, what I did here is I explained exactly what steps I took to address the problem. Make sure to keep the focus on you if you were working with the team at that particular time. And this part of the answer question, this part answers the questions of how did you deal with the problem and what was your particular contribution, right? Um, Now, our last part of the STAR method, results. I ended my answer with this built trust and rapport in our relationships that helped us find a common ground. I received positive feedback from my mentees stating I was able to make them feel like they belonged at Mesa. They became more engaged in our meetings. We still keep in touch today, even though I have moved on from that role. And although it was challenging at the start to connect with new students, I was able to adjust and learn how to be an effective communicator. Now, don't hesitate to take credit and share what outcomes your actions achieved, right? You want to communicate what you accomplished and make sure that your answer contains positive results at the end. Now, in our next slide, this is just how it looks like all together. I know it may seem like it's a lot of information, but in your actual interview, you can bring a note card with you. You know, a small kind of note card where you can put some bullet points, 5 skills that you want to highlight in your responses, or or not necessarily 5, it's just kind of making it quantitative, but a list of skills that you want to highlight in your answer, and also probably past experiences and bullet points of just general tasks you did, right? So you can bring that because it may seem overwhelming as you're kind of reading it off the screen right now. But let's see, there's a chat. Would you say it's important to be short and sweet instead of mentioning everything you've accomplished? Definitely short and sweet is the way to go. However, if you have more insight of your achievements, you can also communicate that, right? If you're proud of something that you have achieved, you can communicate that. You can also achieve that by being short and sweet. So as long as your answer is not going overboard of 5 minutes long, again, we talked about kind of making sure that you don't overshare. So relevant experiences and relevant outcomes would be what you'll be talking about in your answers. So hopefully that helps. Any questions at all about the STAR method or any clarifications? If not, we will go ahead and have our activity questions. I have prepared 3 behavioral interview based questions here, and any participants for this activity will be gaining an extra entry. Now, first off, I wanted to ask for a volunteer. I will be reading off the question. Does anyone want to start us off?
I can start us off.
All right, thank you, Helen. I will be reading the question and you can respond once you're ready. All right. So, Helen, describe a time when you were faced with a stressful situation that demonstrated your coping skills.
Okay, let me think. Okay, I don't think it's 100% perfect, but I think I have a situation in my head.
Go ahead.
Um, so as a full-time college student, I have had a lot of deadlines to meet, right? When it comes to homework, projects, and just generally studying. During the last final season, around last December, I believe, I had a lot of exams back to back, along with final projects, all due like within the same 2 weeks. So I was kind of overwhelmed with all that information, but instead of waiting to the last minute, I actually went on Google and I printed out a weekly calendar so I can see the busy finals weeks that I had coming up. And then I use a lot of different colored pens and highlighters so that I could write down when my exams and projects were due. So by visually being able to see it in all the different colors, I was able to prioritize which exam to study for first and which projects I should finish before I started until those exams started. And then this helped me utilize my time more efficiently. And I also used my passion planner to block out times throughout the day so I could see when to study and work on my projects. And I noticed that since my classes didn't start until 11 a.m. during the week, I scheduled myself an hour or two in the mornings just to get things done so I didn't have to save it all for the night after classes. And by breaking down those due dates and taking it one day at a time, I was able to cope and survive final seasons. And then I was able to take those habits into this semester, actually, and I'm doing the same methods during this midterm season.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Helen. Um, I was just checking off the list of the STAR method, and I thought that you did such a great job in terms of going over each section and having it flow, your ideas flow really smoothly, right? You talked about being a college student, and you have a lot of deadlines, especially finals and midterms week that you mentioned. You mentioned what you needed to accomplish, which is your task, what you did. So you used a planner, you went online, you utilized what resources are available to you. That's your action. And you shared an abundance of results that definitely has been helping you until the present today. So great job on that. I thought that your answer is definitely straight to the point and really great. I guess an advice I would like to share is that in terms of categorizing your results, you mentioned about using passion planners and using a calendar and having a visual kind of representation of your schedule. You can also make sure to mention all of those maybe in one sentence instead of kind of being really detailed and we tend to overshare. So that's just a really just the advice that I'd like to say, just to make your answers more concise. But overall, great job. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Now for our second example. Who would like to volunteer? Feel free to unmute yourself or type it in the chat. You're a brave soul.
I guess I can take this one.
Okay, sure. All right. So I'll be reading off the question and you'll be answering when you're ready, right? So
Okay.
tell us about a time when you had too many things to do and you were required to prioritize your tasks.
Okay, so I'm part of two engineering honor societies right now, Tau Beta Pi and Chi Epsilon, but I'm also a structural lead in Concrete Canoe Club. So there's three things I must do plus the classwork. So that's a lot of things I have to do. To prioritize that, I just took a breath and I just wrote on my Google Calendar and on my notes what's on all the deadlines and what comes first. And then I would also take mini breaks to relieve my stress and just visualize how each thing can come into place, like a story, how it goes orderly. And then the result was that everything came out as well as expected, and I was happy with what happened.
Thank you for sharing, Ken. Definitely, I thought that even though when you had a lot of things on your plate, that you're able to organize and stay up to date and be on top of your tasks. Great job. Now, feedback is that I thought that you stated your situation really well. You were stating your responsibilities as what communities you're currently a part of. So great. And for your task, I guess I would recommend you adding a little bit more of how these challenges has affected you, or how these what other challenges are you going through with the amount of responsibility that you have. So kind of mentioning those for your task section. And your actions, you were stating how you used a Google Calendar. That's awesome. You were having taking breaks. I think that's really important. Prioritizing your mental health and overall well-being by stepping back and giving yourself time. And your results, I would say, be more specific. Don't be shy. I thought that a result of your staying organized and taking breaks helps you keep up and remain and have a well-structured way of approaching these responsibilities that you have. So thank you for sharing. For our last question, who would like to volunteer? Anyone? Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Now for the last one, who's a brave soul and would like to volunteer? Anyone?
I can do the last one if if there isn't anyone else to do it.
Okay. All right, Malik, thank you for volunteering. I will be reading off the question and you can start once you're ready.
Gotcha.
Tell us about a situation in which you demonstrated leadership. What did you do? How did you do it? What was the outcome?
Okay. If I wanted to share about a time where I demonstrated leadership, I would share how at my previous job at Starbucks, that was my first job. I was a shift supervisor, and there was a week where our store manager was out of the cafe for a week. I think they were on vacation. And so there was a power out that we had. We were on Kearney Mesa Road, and so our power went out, and it was halfway through the day when we hadn't even had anything closed up. Normally in the situation, our store manager would come to the store to help us get everything closed, but that wasn't going to happen. So I figured out, since it was my shift and because there wasn't any manager support coming in, that I would reach a little above our store manager and reach out to our district manager and communicate the process to them. That's kind of where I started to develop communication skills, especially following a chain of command. And after I updated them, I started our typical closing procedures so that we could get everyone out on time, and so that all of our products wouldn't rot, all of our milks, espresso, all those things have an expiration date. So we had to make sure that it was all nicely packaged up and make sure that, we're still running breaks and making sure that we are still finishing up in a decent amount of time so that we didn't go over our labor hours. And that's one of the main experiences where I really, really felt like I took on a leadership role unexpectedly.
Thank you for sharing, Malik. I thought that that was definitely a leadership position. I just to answer a question in the chat. What is considered leadership? Leadership can mean that you stepped up in a particular situation. It can be in in class projects that you know, initiated conversations, created a group chat for everyone to communicate, or you created a plan in a specific project where you had to work with groups and you were stepping up and going above and beyond and just being kind of a regular member of that group. Leadership can be by volunteering in your local community, helping out. Leadership can be in a previous job experience, like how Malik communicated their experience at Starbucks. So again, leadership is just stepping up out of your comfort zone and taking the initiative. I would say that those are some leadership roles. And Malik, I would like to say that you did a great job in communicating your answer using the STAR method. I would just say that for your situation, some information doesn't need to be shared, like how your supervisor was in a vacation. You can probably just mention that they are out for personal matters. In that case, again, we don't want to be oversharing information that are not necessary, and we want to save those for more relevant relevant information about your experience. And I thought that you were telling your story very smoothly in terms of how you managed the situation. You have communicated that you were able to enhance communication skills by talking and reaching out to the district manager, and you also have clearly communicated the outcome of the situation. So thank you for sharing, and great job.
Thank you, Lara.
Of course. All right, you have the chat. Thank you. Yes. Okay. Hope that answered your question, Wendy. I will make sure to jot down those points for everyone who participated. Thank you again for sharing. Now, as we move on, after you've nailed the STAR method that we just went over and possibly written down your answers that you formulated, you have to practice a lot, and practicing will definitely make you feel more prepared and confident. Now, you want to familiarize and anticipate any commonly asked interview questions. These underlined links or words are linked with a specific website that I thought would be helpful for you to prepare for that interview. So after this workshop, these slides are going to be emailed to you, and you'll be having access to these links to check it out on your own time. Now, not just commonly asked interview questions, but also practice behavioral and situational interview questions, which are becoming more common in interviews today, right? Virtual or in person. Now, a resource that I would love to share for practicing your interviewing skills is Perfect Interview. This is offered by our Mesa Career Center. You will be able to get tips from interview coaches, which are pre-recorded videos of professionals. It's proven and tested, and I have personally used this resource in the past for preparing for interviews. And so we'll just go over that in a little bit. But before, I want to emphasize that our career counselors and career peer ambassadors are also a great resource for you. Now, by scheduling an appointment, you'll be able to get help with interview preparation. You can schedule an appointment via calling the phone number on your screen or sending an email at mesacareerstccd@gmail.com. I have also included our hours of operation for your reference. Now, as we move on, Perfect Interview. Again, this is a really great resource for you in terms of practicing your interviewing skills 24/7. So if at late at night you want to practice that interviewing skills, you can go ahead and go to this website. Make sure you use this specific link, just because this is the link where Mesa offers the free services of Perfect Interview. This is all linked to the slides. And again, you'll have a copy of this at the end of the workshop. Awesome. Now, as we move forward, testing your technology. Now, for a virtual interview, electronics are a must, right? You need a device, a smart device that you can connect to the internet. Most devices right now, like a smartphone, a laptop, or a tablet, already have built-in cameras and mics. But if not, then I recommend you having them separately. And for any reason that you have no access to these materials, Mesa is offering a free laptop, webcam, hotspot, or any devices for checkout upon filling up a request form. And again, this is linked here on the Mesa laptop checkout bullet. And in a virtual interview, you also need a video conferencing software program where the interview will be conducted on, like Zoom, which we probably are more familiar with, but there's also Skype, Google Meet, WebEx, or some other softwares that I know of. Now, also the most important thing that you need to have for a virtual interview is a reliable internet connection. And I'm aware that we have unique and different situations at home. So if you don't have an internet connection and you're able to travel to Mesa College, we are offering a hotspot at parking lot 1. And if you're not familiar where that may be, I have linked the map on the slide on this parking lot 1 phrase. So you can check that out. Now, last two things that I want to emphasize for testing your technology is to run your devices with a friend or a family member at least a day before the interview. This gives you at least enough time to troubleshoot any issues or problems that may happen unexpectedly, right? Again, checking in 10 to 15 minutes before the actual interview to test your speaker, camera, and internet connection will also help you kind of feel more relaxed that all of your devices are working well, and that if your interview is going to flow smoothly. Now, dressing for success. You've practiced, you've got the technology all set. Now, what do you wear, right? To be able to make a good first impression, you want to dress for success. And the attire for an interview is commonly business casual or professional. If you are presenting yourself as well-groomed, you will look professional. You will feel comfortable, confident, and competent in answering your questions, right? Now, a resource that I want to highlight is the Stand. This is basically Mesa College's Basic Needs Resource Center. And right now it's currently closed because of COVID-19, but I'm pretty sure and that as soon as campus reopens, they will be having these resources available. So I have their website linked here if you want to check that out, and stay tuned when they are reopening. Now I have a simple infographic that I found on Google, and I thought it's just simple and it gives you good guidelines on how to choose what to wear. So neutral colors, and again, some other key kind of points to keep in mind when you're choosing what suit you're going to be wearing for your interview. Right, nonverbal cues and body language. Now, in an interview, it's important to communicate not only verbally, but also through nonverbal and your body language. And I know that virtual interviews, as I've mentioned, may have a challenge of limiting your ability to communicate with body language. So some simple tips that I have here is to sit up straight, and maintain an appropriate distance from your camera. You can gesture as you speak, as what I've been doing, but to a certain extent. You can smile genuinely, nod when necessary, and maintaining good eye contact by looking at that camera. Facial expressions convey a strong message to the interviewer. So your smile, express them through your emotions, through your facial expressions to demonstrate enthusiasm and, again, confidence, right? Now, at the end of the interview, be curious. You may often get asked by the interviewer, do you have any questions for us before the actual interview? And by showing your interest and willingness to learn, you'll be standing out if you have one or more questions prepared. I have some example of questions that you can use to ask your the employer or the interviewer, and I have just listed them here on the screen, right? These questions will definitely help you to know more about the people working in the company or the culture, and what other professional development opportunities there are available for you once you are offered the position and you accept it. Now, A last thing that I want to point out is to not forget to use their response and tie it back to you, right? How you would add value to their company. Now, an example here that you could use, or yeah, you could utilize is that you can say, thank you for sharing. I admire that your company values equity and excellence. I'm looking forward to showcasing how I can support your mission to provide exemplary customer service to your clients. So again, this is an interview, and so you want to tie it back to you and how you would be a strong asset to their team. In your next slide, these are just a couple of other online resources that I want to share with you all, and you can access these links after I have sent the slides after this presentation. So make sure to check these out. Now it's for our time for opportunity drawing. I will be placing a link down the chat. Oh, we have a question, I believe. I have an internship interview for an engineering firm this Friday. Do you recommend I wear business casual or professional? Let's go back to our slide. As you can see, this is business casual and professional. I would say either or would work as long as you look neat, well-groomed. In a business casual, you would have, you have a suit or a jacket, a business, and or a professional, you would have your suit over. So there's just that difference of having a suit over your polo shirt for a professional look.
Yes, and if you notice, you also have the picture, there's like a cardigan. So if you have like a nice simple cardigan, you could wear that, like Laura mentioned, or a blazer, whichever you prefer.
And we have another question. Would you recommend LinkedIn as a great way to connect with the company beforehand? Yes, yes is the answer for that question. You will be able to learn more about the company and their culture and maybe possible events through LinkedIn. It's a social media platform that most employers use nowadays. So yes, definitely that's a great idea. Right. Any other questions before we go ahead and... Awesome, thank you. Again, I will be putting this link down the chat. If all participants would be, everyone in meeting, there you go. If everyone would be, take their time to answer this Google form. And after that, I will be sharing my screen again for our opportunity drawing. So on top of your participation in this survey, you will be gaining extra points based from your participation. So I made sure to tally that.